Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Bill and Proposal Evaluator training. We are so excited that you guys have decided to volunteer with us today, and we thank you in advance just for all the work that you're going to give to our kids. So we will go ahead and dive into the structure of what you guys are about to see. So to start, you're either evaluating legislative or state affairs. So the big thing is legislative is going to be bill writing, and in state affairs, it'll be proposal writing. So each of these bills or proposals, there's topics that students select that they're either passionate about and things that they want to see changed in their communities and transform them for the betterment of the Texas government. So the legislative section, the big thing here is that students will participate on an individual level. So you won't have more than 2 students that you're evaluating at the same time. With state affairs, students will participate as individuals or a team. So be sure when you're evaluating students for their quality of oral delivery, if they are in that team setting, be sure that you're evaluating all 3 students. Next up, each presentation will be about 15 to 18 minutes long, and you're going to be scoring students on both their proposal and bill presentation, as well as their general engagement and debate. So the students, just for the general debate section, they can either engage with asking questions, pro-con debate, anything like that. But we'll go ahead and dive into what you're specifically going to be doing for us today. So on this next slide, you can see an outline for the hearing committee delegate evaluation form. So this is where you rate our students on out of 1 through 25. So we'll explain kind of what those numbers mean in a second, but for now, we'll go ahead and dive into each of these sections that they will be evaluated on. So the first one is grammar and organization. Did the delegate order their points to be heard understandably and appropriately? Did the delegate avoid slang and use complete sentences? And did the delegate ensure their key message came across using strategies like repetition? So this is more, you're focusing on what they're saying, how their bill looks. You may have a bill or proposal that has a lot of spelling errors or things like that. Be sure to check that and just check how it's written out. You don't need to evaluate on form or anything like that in the specific bill or proposal. That's done at a different point. But the big thing here is just to make sure that the grammar is looking okay and that the student is speaking using different debate methods like repetition. So if they want something to come across, that'll be a good situation to evaluate someone as a 5, which we'll talk about that again in a second. Next up, we have the quality of oral delivery. Did the delegate stand up straight and make eye contact? Did the delegate project adequately but refrain from yelling? And did the delegate speak respectively to the other delegates asking challenging questions? So the big thing here is just making sure the student is engaged. You would be surprised. Sometimes we have students that are really they may be presenting a bill or proposal. I would say, especially with the proposal topics, be sure to make sure the other authors are engaged when one specific author is speaking. And you just want to make sure that they're being respectful of other delegates debating their bill. Not everybody's going to agree with the topic, and we just need to make sure that how the delivery is coming across appropriately. Next up, we have quality of questions. So did the delegates' questions to other meaningfully further debate? This is a big thing about quality, and we'll talk about the relevance of technical questions in a second. These are 2 different categories. Was the delegate able to respond to other delegates' questions about their bill with confidence and accuracy? And did the delegate effectively answer questions from others in a manner that reinforced their points? So the big thing here is just making sure that while they're presenting their bill or proposal or asking questions to a bill author, they're keeping on topic. And you'll evaluate that as well in another section, but just making sure that things are, they're responding to the questions respectfully. Once again, they know their topic that they're presenting. Next up, we have the relevance section. So relevance to debate. Did the delegate only raise questions pertinent to the topic of discussion? If you have a bill on building bike lanes, we don't need questions about animal shelters in the area. While both are great topics, we just need to be making sure that in this 15 to 18-minute period that things are on topic and keeping with what the subject at hand is. Next up, did the delegate actually answer the other delegates' questions rather than providing a non-answer? I always tell our delegates one of the best answers that they can provide is, I'm sorry, I don't have that information right now, but I will go find out for you after this debate. That is an answer. Providing a non-answer would be avoiding either what they said or something along those lines, and providing an answer maybe to a different question than what was actually asked. Next up, did the delegate make clear their perspective and unique framing of the issue? There are some scenarios where we have a lot of very similar things coming up. And so we want to hear what the delegate has to say. So make sure that it's something maybe unique to what they're talking about. I always really like it when a delegate uses a story and explains the importance of a bill and just brings out their personal side of things, you know, and it doesn't have to be a personal story. It can be something that they read online. Why is someone passionate? I think the big thing here is just seeing the passion out of the delegate for this topic. Next up, relevance to technical questions. I referenced this a little bit earlier, but did the relevance technical questions meaningfully further debate? You don't want a student asking questions just to talk more. That's why we rate on quality instead of on quantity. We want to make sure that the question, you may have a delegate ask 2 questions that are super meaningful and super powerful, and you have another delegate that asks 5 that are, well, where are you getting the funding for this bill? And while that's a good question, we want to make sure that it's causing, we want to create debate in figuring out how students can converse on this bill and spark a deeper conversation on these topics. So that's this section. Next up, we'll actually go into how you evaluate. So this is the scoring section. So we are on a 1 through 5 scoring structure, 5 being a fantastic, superior performance, as you can see here, 1 being a poor performance. So when you're evaluating, you can also change as you go about through the evaluation. So maybe a delegate isn't feeling super well in the morning, and their debate quality just isn't there, and they really pick it up in the afternoon. Be sure to evaluate the whole delegate and making sure that you are looking at not just one section of debate, looking at all sections of debate. And while their bill or proposal is very important to their evaluation here, make sure that you're also looking at how they're debating other bills. I was a student in the program for 7 years, and I can tell you right now, I did not ever have a bill pass out of committee, and that's okay. I just focused on the debate, focused on the pro con and question section, and that's really where I think I contributed to the program. Next up, you'll see kind of the points overall that I was talking about. So if you have a student that's 25 through 20, this is one of your top delegates and should be in a top spot at either district or state conference. They're actively participating and engaged in using the Y core values of respect with fellow delegates. If you have someone in the 15 to 20 range, these delegates were ready and engaged and ready to proceed to state. 10 through 15, the delegates were ready, tried their best, and should be considered for the second tier at state conference. And if you have someone 5 through 10, these delegates engaged for their presentation, but otherwise disengaged in the program. Less than 5, if a student was not present at all, we discourage that any volunteer scoring a 1 on all sections. So if you have somebody who's not speaking at all, just doesn't present their bill or anything like that, that would really be the only scenario. But we do want to provide this constructive feedback to our students. I think it's important for certain scenarios if a student is just watching and wanting to get engagement, it may not have that confidence just yet. Be sure to provide that feedback on this forum because we are hoping to get this information to the students. So just know the students will see your feedback. That's a great thing for them. I know for me, it was very constructive to be able to see the areas in which I could improve. So be sure just to provide that meaningful feedback for our delegates. But once again, thank you so much for coming in and helping us today. If you do have any questions, please go to your section leader and they are more than happy to assist. Thank you, everyone.